Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever walked away from a public interaction and felt like something was off? Like people were polite, but distant, friendly, but not fully there. That's not random. There are a few things people do in public that quietly change how others see them. Instantly. No confrontation, no comments, just silent judgment. And the worst part? Most people never realize they're doing them. These aren't obvious mistakes. They're subtle. They feel normal. And that's exactly why they're dangerous. Because once you do them, people don't correct you. They just adjust how much respect they give you. And one of the 5 I'm about to share is so common, you've probably done it today without thinking. Stay with me. Because after this, you won't unsee it. Before we go any further, let me be clear about something. This isn't about rules. It's not about acting fake, being stiff, or trying to impress everyone around you. It's about awareness. Because whether we like it or not, public spaces are social mirrors. People are constantly reading signals, your tone, your timing, your reactions, long before they hear your words. And those signals quietly decide things like how seriously people take you, how comfortable they feel around you, whether they lean in or pull back. What makes this matter is that none of this happens out loud. No one tells you, hey, you just lost credibility. They just treat you differently. Opportunities shift, conversations end sooner, respect drops a few notches, and you never get a notification. That's why this matters. Because small public habits don't stay small. They follow you into first impressions, work situations, social circles, and everyday interactions. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So as we go through these 5, don't think, I should never do this again. Think, when does this show up, and what does it cost me? All right, let's start with the first one. Number 1, over-explaining yourself. This one sneaks up on you. It starts with a simple question, a harmless comment, a normal interaction, and then suddenly, you're explaining why you chose that, why you said that, why it's not a big deal, why you didn't mean it that way. You keep adding details not because they're needed, but because silence feels uncomfortable. Here's what's really happening. Over-explaining doesn't make people trust you more. It makes them wonder why you feel the need to justify yourself in the first place. In public, confidence sounds simple. It lands, and it stops. When you keep talking, people subconsciously assume there's something to defend, even when there isn't. Now here's the important part. If you realize you're doing this mid-sentence, don't panic. Do this instead. Finish your thought early. Lower your voice slightly, and end with a period, not a question. You don't need to correct yourself. You don't need to add a disclaimer. Just stop. That pause feels uncomfortable to you, but to everyone else it reads as confidence. And going forward, remember this. You don't owe explanations for neutral choices. You don't owe clarity to people who didn't ask for it. And silence doesn't weaken your message. It seals it. Now let's talk about something people notice even faster. Number 2, checking your phone the wrong way. Let's be clear about something first. This isn't about having a phone. Everyone does. It's about how you reach for it and when. Unlocking it every few seconds. Checking it the moment there's a pause. Looking down while someone is still talking. You might think no one notices. They do. Because the message it sends isn't neutral. It says, I'm distracted, or I'd rather be somewhere else. Or worse, this interaction isn't important enough. And here's what makes this tricky. Even if you're checking the time, even if you're nervous, even if you don't mean anything by it. People don't judge intention. They judge signals. In public, Your phone becomes a visible measure of how present you are, and presence is currency. Now, here's the part most people ask next. What if this already happened? What if you already checked your phone mid-conversation? Here's how you fix it without making it awkward. First, don't explain it. Don't say, "Sorry, I was just checking something real quick." That only draws more attention to it. Instead, re-enter the moment cleanly. Put the phone away fully. Make eye contact and respond directly to what they just said. You can even ground it with something simple like, "Go on, what were you saying?" That single move resets the interaction. What you're signaling is, "I'm back. You have my attention." And going forward, here's the rule that changes everything. If you wouldn't do it during an important conversation, don't do it in public, casually either. Because the habit you practice when it doesn't matter is the one that shows up when it does. And once you break this habit, people feel it immediately. Now, this next one has nothing to do with your phone, but it might be even more damaging. Number 3, broadcasting your emotions. Let's be real for a second. We all get frustrated, annoyed, stressed, or just plain overwhelmed. That's human. But here's where most people slip up. They let those emotions spill over in public. I'm talking about venting loudly on the phone, showing frustration at a cashier, or letting everyone in a cafe see you're stressed to the max. It might feel honest. It might even feel like relief. But here's the problem. People pick up on it immediately. They don't just see the emotion, they feel it. And unless they know you well, they instinctively step back. It's not that your feelings are wrong. It's that the public space isn't always the place to process them. So what can you do if you catch yourself doing this? 1. Pause first. Take a deep breath before reacting. Even 5 seconds changes the energy. 2. Find a safe outlet. Step away, text a friend, or write it down. Process it privately instead of broadcasting it. 3. Use neutral body language. Crossed arms, clenched fists, or sharp gestures amplify frustration. Relax your stance even slightly. It sends a calmer signal. 4. Shift the focus. If you're venting to someone nearby, keep it light and situational. Avoid dragging strangers into your personal drama. The goal isn't to bottle things up. It's about controlling the spill, so people respect you, and you stay in control of how you're perceived. Once you start managing this, you'll notice something interesting. People don't just react differently. They lean in when you share, instead of stepping back, and your stress doesn't feel so heavy either. Number 4, competing for attention. This one's tricky because it can easily masquerade as confidence. You might think you're just being funny, charismatic, or engaging. But the truth is, if you feel the need to constantly dominate the space, people see it differently. Think about it. Talking louder than everyone else. Interrupting mid-sentence. One-upping stories. Steering every conversation back to yourself. At first, it might feel harmless. You're just being social. But here's the problem. It signals insecurity. Even if you feel secure inside, your actions say, "I need to be seen. I need to be heard." And people pick up on that instantly. They start tuning out. They stop giving energy to your stories. And instead of being memorable, you become exhausting. People will remember you, yes, but for the wrong reasons. Here's what to do if you catch yourself doing this. 1. Pause before you speak. Even a short pause gives space for others to contribute, and it shows you're aware of the social rhythm. 2. Ask genuine questions. Instead of trying to impress, listen actively. Ask questions that invite someone else to share. People remember how you made them feel more than anything you say. 3. Resist oversharing. Confidence isn't measured by the length of your stories or the volume of your voice. It's measured by control, timing, and knowing when to step back. 4. Lead with observation, not assertion. Notice what's happening around you or how someone is feeling, and comment on that before jumping into your own experience. This positions you as socially aware instead of socially needy. 5. Use subtle gestures and tone instead of volume. Leaning in, nodding, making eye contact. Small signals speak louder than shouting or dominating the conversation. Here's the payoff. When you stop competing, people want to hear you. They give their attention willingly. Your presence feels magnetic, not exhausting. Because here's the truth. Real confidence isn't about forcing attention. It's about creating a space where attention naturally comes to you. Once you get this, your interactions in public change completely. People start leaning in, listening closely, and remembering you for the right reasons. Number 5, being too familiar, too fast. This is one of the most common mistakes people make without realizing it. You might think you're just being friendly, funny, or relatable. But there's a fine line between approachable and overwhelming. Let's break it down. Oversharing personal details with strangers, forcing jokes that don't land, trying to create inside joke energy before trust has even been built, or assuming physical closeness, leaning in, touching someone lightly, without knowing if it's welcome. At first it might feel natural. You're just being yourself, right? But here's the problem. People pick up on discomfort instantly. Trust and comfort aren't just words. They're signals your brain reads before you even speak. When you move too fast socially, people instinctively pull back. They may smile, nod, or engage politely, but their subconscious is keeping a distance. And that distance? It's subtle, but it changes how they respond to everything you say or do after. So what can you do if you catch yourself being too familiar too fast? Slow down intentionally. Treat public interactions like a staircase, not an escalator. Step by step builds trust. Rushing creates discomfort. Mirror the other person's energy. Notice their tone, their gestures, and their comfort level. Adjust yours to match instead of forcing your own. Hold back personal details. Share just enough to create connection, and save deeper stories for later when trust is established. Be mindful of physical space. Even friendly gestures can feel invasive if you don't have permission. Respect boundaries. It shows awareness and confidence. Lead with observation, not assumption. Comment on the environment or situation before turning the focus inward. People feel safer with a neutral starting point. Here's the payoff. When you respect pacing and boundaries, people lean in willingly. They listen, engage, and connect more genuinely, because trust isn't forced, it's earned. Public spaces reward patience, awareness, and subtlety. Move too fast, and you risk shutting people down before they even realize it. Move with awareness, and you'll notice interactions become smoother, easier, and more impactful. Let's be real. Ignoring these habits doesn't just make social situations awkward. It has real consequences, and most of them happen quietly, without anyone telling you. Think about it. Every public interaction is like a tiny test. You're being judged, yes, judged, on more than your words. Over-explaining yourself. People start seeing you as insecure or unsure, even if you know exactly what you're talking about. Checking your phone constantly. People assume you're distracted, uninterested, or even disrespectful. Broadcasting emotions in public. You create distance before anyone even knows your story, competing for attention. Instead of being memorable, you're exhausting, and people tune out. Being too familiar, too fast. You push people away before trust even has a chance to form. Ignore these, and here's what happens over time. Opportunities slip away without warning. People might hesitate to include you in projects, conversations, or social situations. First impressions stick, and not in your favor. One small mistake can shape how someone sees you for weeks, or even longer. Relationships feel shallow or strained. You might notice people being polite but distant, and wonder why. You carry invisible friction in daily life. Subtle discomfort, avoidance, or second-guessing yourself becomes normal. And here's the kicker. None of this usually hits you in the moment. You might leave a conversation thinking it went fine, while quietly, people adjusted how they treat you without ever saying a word. The good news? Once you notice these behaviors and make small changes, the impact is huge. People start responding differently immediately, even if they never explicitly tell you why. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and knowing that small shifts create big changes in how the world perceives you. Okay, now that you know what not to do and what can happen if you ignore it, let's talk about the part most people skip. Actually catching yourself in the moment. Because awareness is everything. Without it, habits just repeat themselves. Here's the thing. No one else is going to tell you, hey, you're over-explaining again, or stop checking your phone. You need to notice it yourself. So how do you do that? Hit the pause button. Before you react in a conversation, take a small mental pause. Even 2 or 3 seconds is enough to ask yourself, am I over-explaining? Am I forcing humor or familiarity? Am I dominating this conversation? That little pause can save you from a lot of social friction. Check your physical signals. Your body language says more than words. Notice if you're fidgeting, constantly looking at your phone, crossing your arms, or leaning too close. Small tweaks here, like relaxed posture, open gestures, and eye contact. Signal confidence and awareness immediately. Get feedback from someone you trust. Ask a friend or coworker to be honest with you. Something like, do I over-explain? Do I seem too eager for attention? They'll notice patterns you can't see yourself. Reflect after interactions. Take a few minutes at the end of the day to review social situations. Ask yourself, when did I feel awkward? Where did I overstep or hold back too much? Writing notes down helps you spot patterns and track improvement. Practice small experiments. Try intentionally changing one habit at a time. Limit explanations in one conversation. Keep your phone out of sight for 5 minutes. Step back in a group and observe before jumping in. Notice the response. People react differently than you'd expect. The point isn't perfection. It's building awareness so your presence becomes stronger, calmer, and more intentional. Once you start catching yourself, everything changes. Conversations flow smoother. People respect your space and your input. And most importantly, you start feeling more in control, not just reacting. Now that you've started noticing your habits, let's talk about the small tweaks that actually make a massive impact in public. The best part? These aren't big personality overhauls. They're tiny, intentional shifts that people notice instantly, even if they can't explain why. Shorten your explanations. Instead of giving the full backstory, stick to 2 sentences max. Example, someone asks why you're late. Don't narrate every detail. Just say, traffic was bad, but I made it. Thanks for waiting. Boom, concise, confident, done. Phone etiquette is everything. Hold your phone, don't hover over it. Avoid checking it mid-conversation. Even 5 minutes of undivided attention makes you instantly more present. Trustworthy and respected. Mirror energy. Don't override it. Notice how the other person is acting. If they're calm, match that calm. If they're excited, engage. But don't compete for attention. Matching energy builds connection instantly. Use pauses like a pro. Pauses give your words weight, your ideas space, and people time to respond. Silence isn't awkward, it's powerful. People start listening instead of zoning out. Observe before you act. Instead of jumping in with your story, notice the room, tone, body language, reactions. Lead with observation, then contribute. This subtle awareness makes you seem grounded and confident. Respect boundaries and pacing. Social interactions are like a dance. You don't sprint the first step. Give people space to warm up. Share personal details gradually. Make jokes carefully. People feel safer and more drawn to you. Here's the kicker. When you implement just one or two of these tweaks consistently, it changes how people respond to you immediately. Your confidence becomes visible. Conversations flow easier, and you feel more in control of your public presence without overthinking it. Small adjustments like these aren't flashy, but they compound quickly. The more you practice, the more natural they feel, and the bigger the social impact. All right, now it's time for the part everyone loves, immediate action. These are simple, beginner-friendly steps you can start doing today that will make a noticeable difference in how people perceive you in public. Limit your explanations. Next time someone asks a simple question, give a concise answer. 2 sentences. Done. Notice how people react. They listen more, respond faster, and respect your confidence. Put your phone away for 5 minutes. When you're talking to someone or in a public setting, hold your phone out of sight. You'll feel more present and people will notice, even if they don't say anything. Practice active observation. Before jumping into a conversation, scan the room. Notice body language, tone, energy levels. Respond to that energy instead of forcing your own. It builds connection instantly. Take a pause before speaking. Even a 2-second pause can prevent over-explaining, competing for attention, or broadcasting too much emotion. It also makes your words land stronger, and people subconsciously respect that. Mirror energy carefully. Match the other person's energy rather than trying to outshine them. It shows awareness, makes people feel comfortable, and avoids accidentally overwhelming them. Step back before oversharing. Ask yourself, is this too much information for right now? If the answer is yes, hold it. Share it later when trust is already built. End with reflection. After an interaction, ask yourself what went well and what didn't. Even just one small observation a day compounds over time, making you more aware and socially agile. Here's the truth. You don't need to fix everything at once. Pick 1 or 2 quick wins from this list, practice them today, and notice the difference. Even small changes create big results. People listen more, conversations flow easier, and you feel calmer, more in control, and confident in public. The key takeaway? Awareness plus small, consistent action beats trying to overhaul your personality overnight. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one habit from today's list. Just one. Start noticing it. Start adjusting it. See how people respond differently, and see how it changes your confidence. Because confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up aware, intentional, and in control every single time. And trust me, once you get this down, you'll notice something incredible. People start leaning in, listening closely, and giving you the respect you might not have realized you were missing all along. That's the quiet power of awareness in public, and it's yours the moment you start paying attention.